Hello, everybody, and welcome to Journey to Everlasting, the show that talks all things relationship, be it marriage, be it courtships, we tackle it all. And we do so under three lenses: the personal lens, and then we look at it under the professional lens, and of course, most importantly, we try to look at it under a spiritual lens. Do you have any questions about marriage or maybe relationships? If so, do contact us on our various social media platforms using the hashtag, the letter J, the number 2, the letter E on Sid Media. That is hashtag, the letter J, the number 2, the letter E on Sid Media. Today's topic is finance. Now, I've always had this fear that if I get in a relationship with someone, I might also end up in a relationship with their debt. And if that is a fear of yours, please join us today as we're in Pretoria meeting with the Forbes family to see what their opinion is on finances in marriage. Let's meet the Forbes. Thank you so much for inviting us into your home.
Definitely.
You're welcome.
So now for those who are watching and seeing this beautiful couple in front of me here, they might want to know a bit about who the Forbes are. Care to, I don't know, Mr. and Mrs. who?
I'm Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Justin. We've been married for
Over 4 years, 4.5 years.
4.5 years now, yes.
Okay.
We've been dating since
2015.
So we've been
It's been a while.
knowing each other for a few more
Him
years
more
than
than
we
me.
married. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful, and thank you very much once again. So since you've been together since 2015, I am sure this topic that we're talking about, finances, has been brought up, hopefully, once or twice. Either that or you're very lucky.
Yeah.
So just a quick question about finances. How, I guess, one would navigate finances within a relationship. It's such a tough thing to bring, and now you think of the COVID and different economic things. For example, if I lose a job, how can me and my partner then discuss it or navigate it in a healthy way, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's a side or a byproduct. Being able to handle and manage your finances together is a byproduct of how good or bad your relationship is.
Right.
So if our communication is good, if we trust each other explicitly with no confusion or questions about, we have an idea of who we are. Right. We speak plainly and clearly. I lost my job. What are we going to do? And we approach this together.
Yeah.
And do you have any additions?
It's all about communication. As long as there's open communication about everything.
Okay. And then what then happens if you have different, let's say, spending habits, culturally or socially, whatever it is? I know growing up, my dad, shout out to my dad he said debt, he didn't like debt. Yeah. So credit cards, cell phone contracts and things like that, you don't acquire debt. But some people might say getting credit is a good thing for some instances. What happens then if you're different people within a relationship, culturally, socially, regarding that debt?
I think if the only time you speak about your attitude towards debt is after you're married, you've made a big mistake. You might be too late. You can still, of course, you can still navigate it. We are, as humans, we are resilient, we are adaptive, we can change, but sooner rather than later, you need to find that out. And how you navigate it would again come down to communication. This is why I think we should get that X, Y, Z. This is why I don't think we need that X, Y, Z. And then you come to an agreement from that.
Okay. And
Look, I think we each individuals, so naturally we would all have different spending habits,
Right.
of course. But I think that, again, communication and compromise in certain areas. Like, okay, I think we should get debt because it's going to be easier to have a credit record in order to get a house in the future, or whatever the case may be. Or the other person might be like, no, I was raised to believe that debt is like a bad thing. Just do everything cash as far as you can, you know. But yeah, if you can come together and compromise on your point of views, your beliefs, then I think it will go a long way in helping.
right. Okay. So communication seems to be very,
Yes.
very key in this. And just to, just quickly to find out, I don't know whether you guys have an example, whether you guys have done this whole goal setting thing, because sometimes, like if it's me personally, I know once it comes to my stuff, I'll be like, I know what the goal is.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a lot of compromise that has to happen. How, if you have an example, if you mind sharing, can a couple reach that kind of compromise? Because I personally like shoes as well.
Weaknesses.
It's weaknesses. I feel you. So, yeah.
I think to get to the compromise, it comes down to knowing yourself and to knowing
your partner.
To knowing your partner. If I know there's something that is really important to her, I will work as far as I can not to let her give that up. It will be up to her to offer it. It will be up to me to offer that thing that is most important to me. But it can still be suggested.
Okay.
No.
You, Justin, you like to go to the barber to have your hair cut. Would it be okay if I learn to cut your hair? Tracy's now saying to me. And because we were working towards a goal, I'd have to consider that and say, yes, actually, the ends is the same.
Right.
I'm giving up driving to the barbershop. Maybe I go to a special barbershop where they pamper you and everything. Okay. I'm giving up a pamper session maybe. But I still get a haircut.
Right.
Sure thing, let's go, let's do it.
Right,
Thinking of things that are important to you. You need to know what's important to you, things that you won't compromise on, and things that you can compromise on is important to know.
And what's beautiful about that is with her cutting your hair, I'm not saying it's happening, but with that happening, you guys actually end up getting closer
Yes.
together.
Exactly.
So there are benefits
Exactly.
to that. But unfortunately, we are out of time. The time moves super fast here. I don't know why, but really, really appreciate you guys sharing your opinions on this topic.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. We're going to be going to a break now, but don't go away because we're going to be in studio next, speaking finances and marriage with a professional. This is Journey to Everlasting. See you in a bit. Hello and welcome to Journey to Everlasting, the show that is all things relationship, be it marriage, be it courtship. We have 3 tiers that we look into, one being the practical side of things, the second being the professional side of things, and of course we have to look at it through a spiritual lens. My name is Tapiwa Mushoshi. If you are interested in the topics that you hear and you want to comment and you want to engage with us, you can do so on our various social media platforms, and be sure to tag us on hashtag J, the number 2E, on SID Media. That is J, the number 2E on SID Media. Today, we are speaking about something that is very, very crucial, I think, when it comes to relationships. It's a make or break thing, and that is the topic of debt. Rather call this episode Till Debt Do Us Part. And joining me today is Karin Kelly, who we're very, very happy to have. Thank you so much for being here. Kelly, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, firstly, thank you. It's an honor to be here and part of the show.
Thank you.
I'm a transformation coach, an international transformation coach, and
Right.
it is my belief that one's mind, your thoughts, is your strongest tool.
Right.
And if worked wisely, and the knowledge and the belief that this changes can take place, your world is your oyster, as they would say.
Right.
And you choose. You choose. Are you going to feed your mind weeds, which is negative and low vibration? Or is it going to be flowers or herbs, which is positive energy, positivity? You choose.
Right, right. No, thank you so much for being here. And we're talking about something that is a sore spot sometimes in relationships, and that is debt. How does financial debt affect a relationship or marriage?
I can give you the Google or Wikipedia explanation,
Right.
but I'm going to give you
The Karin.
the Karin truth. Thank you.
Yes.
Is that, in my experience, and scientifically proven, is that when financial debt comes along
Right.
to any individual or couple, it's the trigger. So when a couple experiences stress, not feeling loved, not feeling supported, you need to think the underlying things. So what happens is the debt that comes along, yes, brings stress to any couple,
Right.
to any human being. I mean,
Right.
hello.
Right, right.
However, when there's a big wobble in any couple and any family, huge wobble, where they actually consider, should I leave my partner? No, he doesn't support me. No, there's no, or she doesn't support me. There's no consideration. They don't hear
Right,
me.
right, right.
It's an underlining issue that was
Okay.
already there, maybe unnoticed. And all the debt actually did was
Brought it up.
the pimple or bring the boil up to the surface.
Right, right. And if you're looking at the pimple that kind of causes, I mean, there are the underlying things that are there, but looking at that pimple, it seems to be one of, I think, two pimples, if you will. I like the Karin definition. I'll just call them pimples. It seems to be one of two pimples. There's when it comes to relationships, usually there is your sex within the marriage and things like that, or infidelity and all that. And then there's also the financial aspect of things, which includes like your debt. Why do you think that it always kind of keeps on getting harped on, like the financial aspect of things?
Because it's easier to focus on.
Right.
Simple. And if you were to blame anybody or blame anything for anything breaking down, what do? It's because we've actually hit financial difficulties.
Right,
It's
right.
an easy scapegoat.
Right. And since it's so easy, what are practical, like that's kind of like the go-to thing, right? There's this problem, let's go to the financial thing. What are practical ways or steps to communicate openly about this? I'm going to keep calling it a pimple. I love it. What are some easy? What are some practical ways of actually being able to communicate about it? Like, it's such a tough thing to talk about.
It is, and you've actually put the nail on the head, which is communication. So some of the listeners might say, oh, this is so overused.
Right,
the
right.
word communication.
Right.
So this is more for younger couples and those that are actually entering a relationship.
Right.
Or entering a marriage before they actually get married, is that I actually spoke to somebody yesterday and they said in their culture, what they do is when they get married, what they enter into their marriage is theirs. Whatever they gain during the marriage is combined. The two have two separate bank accounts, yet they have a household bank account, which is something just so simple. And that's interesting.
Right.
But the discussions transpire before
Right.
they actually consummate the marriage type of thing. Is how are we going to do things? Who's going to pay for what?
Right.
When are we going to budget? How are we going to discuss things? Are we going to discuss things on a monthly basis, a weekly basis? When we actually run into situations, what things are we going to put into place?
Right.
So the basis and the crux and the foundation is there for the couple. Now, advising somebody that is 10 years, 15, 20 years married is telling them to do that and to communicate.
Right.
They're going to say, we've been doing that all along.
Right.
The other partner might not want to communicate. His form of communication is very different to what the husband or the wife might actually be.
Right.
And there's conflict.
Right.
And it's an easy thing to say, I leave it in God's hands.
Right.
And God will say, yes, sure.
But what are you doing?
You need to do the work as well.
Right.
And that's where couples actually fall short. So whether they are in that sphere in their life where they don't know where to turn, then go to your minister, go to your therapist, go to a coach. Hello. So,
I like that.
To actually move forward, because it's the individual person that needs to either heal inside, discard what doesn't belong to them, some of the blueprints that don't belong to them as individuals, and then together as a couple.
Right. And I was just told in my ear, the time goes by so fast. I've really been enjoying this conversation, and thank you so much to kind of tackle this thing that is always kind of brought forward. And yes, there might be underlying issues, and this might be the thing that always the straw on that broke the camel's back, as they say. So thank you very much for being able to talk a little bit about that. Unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time for this segment, but do not go away as we continue to delve deeper into Till Death Do Us Part. See you in a bit. Welcome back to Journey to Everlasting. If you're joining us now, it's been an interesting show talking about one of the hot topic buttons within relationships, and that is debt. Something that is a little scary to talk about, if we're being honest. And joining me today is very dear friend and no stranger to the show, Pastor Andrew House. Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So we are looking at debt.
Yes.
And trying to look at it through a spiritual lens, and looking at what spiritual advice a couple that is constantly bickering, because it's one of the sore spots. What is a way of kind of a word of advice from a pastor for a couple like that?
I think it's important to recognize that it's not a new concept, that
Right.
the Bible constantly has language with regards to debt. And even if we think about the gospel, it speaks about the debt that had to be paid. So debt is not a concept that is new to us. It's not foreign to our biblical teachings. But we are talking here in the sense of financial debt. And the Bible also has some very good advice on that.
Really?
And
Okay.
when we think about debt, I always have this parable that Jesus tells his disciples and the followers in Luke chapter 14. And he mentions in Luke chapter 14, verse 28, that, who of you starts building a tower but you haven't done a cost analysis. You haven't
yeah.
thought about the implications of building a tower. And you started building the foundation. You realize you ran out of money, and now people are looking. You can't even finish a tower.
Right.
So what Jesus, in that sense, if we have to pull it through to debt. Many of the decisions that we make financially that get us into trouble is because we haven't really thought about it.
Planning, right.
Planning is so essential, and specifically within a marriage context, within your children, if you have a family dynamic that takes place, there needs to be communication when it comes to finances. There needs to be clarity. There needs to be, what's the other word for clarity? Transparency. Transparency that needs to be there. And 1 Timothy 6 verse 6 to 8 tells us that there also needs to be a disposition within our hearts towards the things we have. Because we get into debt because there's a desire,
of course,
to not be where I am, to get somewhere.
Right.
Which is not wrong. But it tells us that there needs to be a disposition within our hearts when it comes to how we go about life. And it says to us in 1 Timothy 6 verse 6 to 8, now there is a great gain in godliness with contentment.
Right.
To be content is probably a gift that you can give yourself, your peace, and your family. To foster that. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. And I think that's a beautiful principle that we can employ whenever there is a desire to build a tower.
Right.
Do I need a tower? How big do I need this tower to be?
Right.
And what's its function?
Right.
And to me, that's always a beautiful dictum to practice within our lives, is to say, form follows function.
Right.
Determine what is our function, and then the form needs to adapt to that. So definitely the Bible has some good advice.
Looking at like the teachings of the Bible,
yes.
You spoke about like the tower, and you gave the lesson where it's talking about being content. Are there other teachings that partners can utilize during a struggle, like let's say they're struggling with debt? Are there any other teachings that the Bible can?
So with contentment, there's the teaching of perseverance.
Right.
And Romans chapter 5, verse 3 to 5 gives us a bit of, it says, and not only so, but we also rejoice in our tribulations. That is a tribulation. If you're struggling with debt, keeping your head above water, that's a tribulation.
Right.
Knowing that tribulation worketh steadfastness. No, you need to be able to communicate, set your goals, and know where you're moving towards.
Right.
If you have debt problems, choose the easiest one to pay off.
Right.
When you finish with paying that off, don't use that extra money to put that which you would have paid that debt off and put it with the next debt. And that you cannonball, and suddenly you have something that is tangible within your life. So steadfastness in the way in which we approach it. I have a system in place. And steadfastness, approvedness, and approvedness, hope. Knowing that, you do not have to be swallowed by what is dragging you down as a family. And then hope, put not to shame, because the love of God have been shed abroad in our hearts through the Holy Spirit, which was given to us. And it actually speaks about that as perseverance in other translations. Perseverance, just small steps, persevere, and you will be able to look back and recognize that we have accomplished something as a partner. And this journey of fighting the debt can actually bring a deeper trust within your relationship and take you to a better place in your relationship.
Right, and I'm glad you kind of brought up trust, because this is kind of trust adjacent. I'm trying to think about faith, and we have very little time. So if you could kind of briefly talk about the role that faith has in making sure that both parties they stay in the same faith. They don't lose that faith within the challenges of debt.
Proverbs 3 verse 6 says, know the Lord in all your ways. And I think that is essential if we espouse or if we long to be faithful to God, to one another. There needs to be a knowing of God within our ways, all our paths.
Right.
And that is essential, especially with money. Recognize what it is that we want to do with our money. Is it, and Jesus said, you can't serve mammon and God. You can't serve money and God.
Yeah.
You know, is God taking the center within your faith, where you put your trust, or is your pension fund what you trust in one day? And we know how fast those things can disappear.
Dry up, exactly.
Yeah. So within faith, let us know the Lord in all our ways. When we need to make decisions, when we need to do things, what is it that are the principles that the Bible teaches us? And key to that is contentment and then perseverance.
Right. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I have to, there's so much more that we can always talk about, you know. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for this discussion. For those of you who are watching, if you want to continue the discussion, you can do so in the comments below on our various social media platforms. Don't forget to just tag us with the hashtag J. That's the letter J, the number 2E on Sid Media. That is the letter J, the number 2, E on Sid Media. As for me, Tapio Mshoshi and the Journey to Everlasting team, it is goodbye and God bless.